All right, you lose. All right, welcome to the show. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Tonight is the once a month talk about the book, and the book this month is "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss. Uh, this was a long one. It was over 8 hours listening, but it was just jam packed. So if you haven't read it, I encourage you to. It's very valuable. It's one that I'm going to listen to again before the end of the year. I've already got it planned that I'm going to listen. And I think it's something Jake and I were talking about. So much in it. You probably need a reminder once until you get to until you get to where John is. So this thing is John's a good negotiator to begin with. But if this is your weakness, it really controls all aspects of your life. And I think he could have done a better job of. He focused a lot on telling stories about to prove his points, and there wasn't. I would like to have seen a little more of use case. Talking about because
How to
he
use
kept how to
Well,
use it, especially in your personal life, because
I
he
love
could.
those stories though. They were
Yeah,
great.
the stories are great. Don't get me wrong; they were really cool, and you the bank robber one was pretty cool. When you talk the bank robber's partner out of the bank and leave the bank robber in there by himself. Yeah. Some of the stories are really cool, and to hear it from somebody who was there's point of view is also. But it's there's I think we'll talk about. I've got some notes and stuff printed out, and we'll talk about it through. But I think that's something you can use in every aspect of your life because everything about life is a negotiation. You're always, um, whether it's dealing with a spouse, whether good or bad. I'm not saying use evil skills against your spouse. I mean, because you do take wedding vows, to to treat each other to a different standard.
and ask for forgiveness.
But but talking about he touched on a little bit about mentions about whether you're trying. He uses the example very lightly about whether you're trying to get your kids to do something or you're always in a negotiation. So, the thing that fascinating about this book is I feel that is my weakness, especially when I'm around people like I talk to John, and then Harlan's really good at this naturally, and so um, John, you're getting banned for being a Muppet. If you didn't read the book and participate, you're a Muppet. So that's the term from his chat a few minutes ago. Somebody called a terrible customer a Muppet. But it's so I'm weak at that, and I really spending time with Harlan, I've gotten somewhat better at it, but really reading and the because he does do a really good job of explaining why these things work and why the psychology behind each one of his steps works. I feel like I'm talking too much. So what is Jacob, Trina? What are your guys' experiences with the book?
Well, one of the things that I have always tried to remind myself of, and I think this book reiterated the reason why it works is not make the first offer in a negotiation, and and the silence that goes along with that is waiting for them to respond. Patience, like you said earlier pre-show, but the silence part and the not making necessarily the first offer, which leads right back to listening.
Well, he does give a couple. He addresses that, which he does a nice job. He gives a couple examples of when you would give the first offer.
Sure.
But they were very specific use case. And one of them is he talks about like setting a floor, setting a baseline. So if you're going to anchoring a price, and so I really all these concepts. I saw a lot of them through dealing with yard sales and stuff because that's where I find myself doing haggling and that kind of stuff, and for the most part, and that's what I anticipated in the book. So that's what I kind of look for, but it was more along of everything you do. But the anchoring part really anchoring a price because Harlan talks about this a lot. Because he'll tell me over there, they want me to give him the first price. I'm gonna punch him in the gut. And that's terms, and it's really just anchoring your floor. Really interesting dynamics too about using the silence and that kind of stuff to get someone to bid against themselves. Because Harlan, I see Harlan do that. He's very good at it. Where he'll give them that low price if he's forced to do it, and he'll be very silent, very quiet. And so many times that they'll go, if it's a $10 item and he'll say 3 or 4, they'll come back at 6 or 8. He just won't say anything. And then after a little bit, they'll go, well, if you're really interested, I could probably do 5. They'll come down because they feel like you've anchored your bottom, and they feel like there's a silence is tough. It really is. And so
I'm gonna give you a real world example that everybody can relate to.
All right.
Into a car dealership, you test drive a car. They write down that they go to their boss and they come back with a set of numbers, and they go over the numbers with you. They turn the paper around and say, I just need your okay right here. And they don't say another word.
Mm-hmm.
As a salesperson, you're taught the next person that speaks will lose that battle.
And he talks about buying a car and talks about in that book. Mm-hmm. And that was a very, because I think they wanted 35. It was a 4Runner, and he wanted to pay 30. And obviously this is a few years ago, because those things are worth $65,000-$70,000 now. But he was very firm on his price, and made the guy go back over and over. I mean, just did not give in. And that's some of that too is there's people who are good negotiators, put some of the onus on you. And if you're going to meet that, you have to be willing to walk away. You have to be willing to stand your ground. And you can't be in a position of weakness because you've created a need when it's not. Because I think he was talking about in the car. He goes, because I got there in a car, I can get home. So as much as I wanted to see what makes the good negotiator side, I was also very, very confirmed my suspicions of why I'm not, because I could see the other side, and he shows both sides. He does a good job of why it fails if you do it the other way. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that. That happens to me a lot.
But there's very few people that can naturally negotiate.
So what are some, so I asked Bar or Gemini for some help, just to have them give me some ideas on how this could help you in your reselling business. Easy one is, sourcing. If you're sourcing with people, and everybody thinks, oh, yard sales and that's it. But, some of these stores, if you're buying clearance and other things, the managers have power. The managers can do things for you. They have some leeway. It's not every store. Some stores they do, some stores they don't. And you would think, well, maybe Walmart doesn't. If you get high enough up that to the person who controls the clearance budget, that Walmart manager does too.
Clearance budget. That's the key. Yep.
Because he controls the budget. So it's a matter of how far. But it talks about mirroring and labeling. So mirroring is
Todd, throw that shit away.
So what?
I told Todd to throw that shit away. He's playing that garbage hand.
Are you watching my poker? Sorry.
So mirroring basically is repeating back what someone says to them, and it comes off as sort of a question that gets them. It shows interest. It gets them to keep talking. Sometimes competing against themselves. And so how would you mirror on eBay? use keywords and phrases in your listings. Things that people are looking for. If you sell a lot of the same merchandise, uh, using terms that buyers understand and shows that how it fulfills a need. So that's why people would say. I would say I use the AI descriptions, and that's the one thing. It's a little fluffier, and it feels like it's more of a little more salesy, a little more of helping convince somebody why they need something, how it would benefit them. Which in normal my listings is just you get the model number, you get the condition, and hey, there it is. And so that's one way I saw. But it's also in the way you talk to customers and you what and how you respond to questions. If someone has I do a terrible job of this, but what's the first thing everybody says if a customer starts asking about an item before it's purchased? Oh my God, they're going to scam me. They're looking for a reason to return it. That's what you hear. Instead of, if you can answer the question with an open-ended question and get them to explain a little more, you can get more information to make the decision. You also could control the way the conversation goes instead of just giving them a short answer and hoping they don't ask you again for something else. That's what most people do. And so, how do you control it? Somebody, I think in John's chat, they were talking about they wanted to know did it work or not because they just bought one that didn't work. And even though the person, they were making the point, well, I got a video in my and kind of making it like, help the customer out. You want to sell things that, we're here. You've gone to all this trouble to make a video and do all this stuff. Hey, I'm sorry that happened. You had a bad experience with another buyer. I understand. I've got a video on my list that you can see it working. Is there anything else I can help you with? Leave that question out there. Was there anything specific you were wanting to see that's not in my video? Open-ended, make not a yes or no, or sort of, you can direct them in the way you can control the conversation. You can control the way things go. You can sell your item.
Well, one of the things you're trying to say is to avoid yes and no questions. You want to ask a question where you need more than just a yes or no answer.
Right.
An open-end question is what you need to get the other side to start talking. As long as they're talking, there's a chance for a sale or a deal or whatever it is you're negotiating at the time.
Yeah, and negotiating, the more information can help. The more information you've got, he talks about. So he at the end of the book, what's it called? The black. What is it?
The appendix.
No, what did he name his company? The Black
Swan.
The Black Swan. I couldn't think of the animal.
Mhm.
So his thing where he talks about in negotiation is there are sometimes information that if you knew about the information, that could be advantageous to you and your side of trying to get a better deal or getting what you considered a fair deal. And it's the Black Swan. And he said it's so important and so rare that he named that's what he named his company, and it's the idea that the more you get someone to talk, they will reveal information. So he gives the information about he's got a company that they're looking to buy a building of some sort, and the broker. The more conversation he has with the broker because he asked him, he goes, if this is such a good deal, why is he looking to sell it? And the broker tells him that, hey, that we're going to use that. He's going to use that money to help his struggling ones, pay off his struggling ones so he can improve his cash situation, improve his finances. And and the solvency. So that, all of a sudden a building that looks like it's a good deal is, now you've got a seller that's in a position of need. And so they are actually able to negotiate with another $1 million off that price or whatever it was. because the information they found out about, that buyer, that seller was still going to be able to use the proceeds to do what he needed to do, but he needed, it goes from, it looks like somebody's selling it to somebody needs to sell it.
It was a little bit a situation like the real estate he was talking about was a little bit, not the exact situation, but when I bought my first rental property, they needed to liquidate it because they didn't want the headache.
Rental property.
What's that?
A chicken coop is not rental property.
What if I rent it to all the chicks?
Oh.
So Tracy, that's a great example. So Tracy T Flips says that if customers are asking you questions in Messenger about your items, we jump so far as, oh my God, they're going to scam me, instead of going, well, no wonder that hasn't sold. I haven't made it attract. These are things I can add to it to help assure a buyer that that's
you stole my thunder. That's okay.
I was taught to sell by someone like Zig Ziglar, and I'm old, so we're going old school here.
Well, he's on the list, so we'll read one of his.
Do you understand why a customer says no to your offer? Here's what I was taught. The reason a customer says no is they mean no because based on the current information, it will not fit their needs. So what you have to do to overcome the no is to give them more information so that they can make a decision to say yes.
And he actually talks about in the middle of the book where he spends a lot of time saying that in most of the time you're much better off to get a no, because a no is really a starting point, like John said, in a conversation and a negotiation. Because I'm glad you brought it up, John, because it's because so many people so a telemarketer, he uses it. Telemarketer calls you right after dinner, you get it, and they say this thing, and what's the easiest way to get off the phone with them? Tell them yes, knowing you ain't ever gonna do nothing. And so getting that he talks about 3 types of yeses, but the worst thing you can get, no is not the worst thing. The fake yes that means it's over before it ever started is the worst thing you can get. And so that's a very fascinating part of the book, is where he talks about getting a no versus a yes, and what type of yeses. That's kind of stuff I need to listen to again, and really need, because after you've taken in so much information at the beginning, I mean, it's just, this book is just information after information after information, especially if you're not somebody like me who is focused on one part of it. And I was wondering, how is this book going to be 8 hours? But it is, it's definitely fascinating. I definitely recommend this very highly. It really. Let's see, what else?
Well, Scott, what I would say is as much as I loved the book, I was kind of ping-ponging around in my head about all the different scenarios of life. And it really took me some time to stop and really think about which one of these strategies can I put into my reselling business specifically with my business model, and who do I have to negotiate with? And the way my business is set up, it's not that many opportunities for me to negotiate. So I think one of the pieces of low-hanging fruit in this book that everyone can implement is the use odd numbers concept. That had never been a concept to me, to use an odd number, something that's not a rounded off number. So went through my score and changed all of that.
So I have some lady made 2 offers on 2 different sets of big girls, one of each, and there were $988, and she offered I don't know what, 7 or something, or yes, 7, and I think I sent back like 861. And that's absolutely a beautiful pickup in this book. Is he tells another story about one of his students who's trying to get. I thought this was with Jacob about trying to get his rent to a certain amount, And the comment was when he told the guy 829 or 831, he goes, "Man, you have figured this down exactly to the dollar." I mean, people, and that was not it. That's the number. It was close to a number he wanted to be, so he made it an odd number. So it gives people the illusion that you've put some formula, some thought into it. No, that's a great point. I
And
never ended.
when you say it's your best offer and it's an even dollar amount, they instantly know that it's not your best offer.
Mhm.
When you say something like, especially in an email, I do this all the time. I've been doing this for years on I just come up with a random number at the end of whatever the offer I want to send back when they make an offer. Unless it's a stupid offer, then I always counter back at a higher price than I'm selling it for and say, we both can be stupid. Now let's get real about the offer. I'm not scared to do that, but you know why most places use 999, like car dealers and stuff at the end of their number? It doesn't sound like the next higher number.
Right.
All this crap is psychological. And before the show, Trina's like, "Oh, I thought about you, John, the whole time I was reading this book." Well, I think a lot of people are going to be really surprised. I negotiated no deals in my business. I do not negotiate deals in my business. I ask them for their best price, what they give me. If I can make money at it, that's what I accept. And I leave it at that. And Scott has seen me do it, and I have clients. They come back and eventually they go, "You buy so much, I got to lower the price a little bit." I'm like, "Yeah,
Right.
that's up to you." But
Okay, so
it's about relationships.
It's about relationships, and what does the one thing I want to point out in this book, one of the things that I think he didn't emphasize enough, he talked about it for a minute, is in any relationship, what's the one thing that you bring to it? It's your integrity. You can't get it back. And he mentions that don't sell yourself out, don't sell your integrity out for one good deal whenever the value, you know, look at the value John helped build this company. He started in Dollar Tree, but then found the next guys in New Jersey, and integral part of his business and built through volume and strength is that relationship he built with those guys, and it's amazing so many people are willing to sell their soul for so cheap.
And you all thought I was kidding about selling flags on the side of the road? Look in the comments.
Yeah.
Somebody actually bought one. Somebody in the chat actually bought one from me. I just seen the picture of me with that van set up on the street corner selling flags.
No, Kent's right. So that's another great point. Both sides need to win to survive long term, and I don't think negotiating to your best deal is not about burying the other person. I don't think it is. I think John hits it right on the head. It's you got to make decisions that are smart for your business, and understand if you've got any kind of vision in your business. It's a great strategy, to get sometimes you take a lesser deal to get your foot in the door, knowing where it's gonna take you, and the opportunities that sometimes the opportunity cost means a little more upfront.
I think the biggest takeaway for me from the 4 or 5 chapters I've read so far is,
at least you got more than John did. Not this John, but flipping ain't easy, John.
I read the first chapter. I'm not going to hide this from anybody. I did read the book before, but I read the first chapter in this one. I've been behind. I got behind in some stuff going on.
But just my takeaway was listening to what the other party was saying and analyze that and put it into the negotiation. because so many times when I'm negotiating on something, I just go, well, here's my price, take it or leave it, but I don't listen. And that was a big takeaway for me. Just listening to what the other person was saying. You might get to an amicable solution, but if you're not listening, you may not get there.
And if you listen close enough, you'll know what their objection to your offer is.
Right.
And it's usually hidden. You also find out what their hot buttons are. Like for women, it may be a vanity mirror on the passenger side. On the visor that has a mirror, so that they can touch their makeup before they go to dinner. Sounds really stupid, but you'd be surprised at how many times a woman gets in the passenger seat and the first thing she does is pull that down to see if there's a mirror. And that's because usually the husband drives and they want to make sure that they can look in the mirror before they get out of the car and go wherever they're going. It's just a human nature thing. But you'd be surprised. I started pointing it out, and all of a sudden they would say, "What about that car?" Well, it doesn't have a mirror on the visor on the passenger side. You'd instantly find out if it really is a hot button issue or not. But it's from listening that you find these things out.
And so the couple points I'm looking over the notes I've got. He mentions that you can develop a superpower in negotiating, and we've all been describing and talking about, but the term empathy, understanding and putting yourself, the emotions of the situation, understanding what they're going through, and then
right.
We talked about mirroring, and that's like repeating back what they've said. But he also talks about a lot of times there's in emotions, if you label it, you kind of put it out there. It's like say good examples like if you're at a family estate sale, and if they're upset or if they're it's hey I'm sorry for your loss. It's a tough time going through, and you're having to deal with all this. Let me see what I can help you. Get so you can. Yeah. So I mean, it's all these things that he talks about. You will run into them at some point in your life and in your reselling business, and that's why I said I have to look at my notes to remember all this. It was just so much that I'm going to read this.
Why did I go to Ohio?
Read this one again.
And listen, even if you can't make a deal today, if you listen and you understand from their side what's going on. I went to Ohio to buy a company. I went to buy a whole entire business. I forget when it was. I think it was right before Christmas. Scott, you remember? I don't even remember when I went.
I remember. I don't remember when it was.
I went out there to buy a company. And I looked the woman dead in the eye, and she's 65 years old. She's ready to retire. And I looked her dead in the eye and said, if I gave you $20,000 for your company, I overpaid by $19,000. That was hard for me to do because I got a lot of money tied up in this trip, hotels, rental cars, flights. And I'm going out here to buy this company. And I had to tell her it was worthless. And, the tears come and all that. And I got through that and I talked to her and I said, this is why your company isn't really a business right now. First of all, everything revolved around her. And I explained that to her and I showed her that. And I showed her a bunch of things that she could do. And she has a great brand. And I said, if I bought this company, I would never, the first thing I would do is put a picture of her on the package as the founder.
She needs to read the book. She needs to read the book you had me read, the last one.
She's reading it now.
I'm
still working. I'm gonna end up with this company. Long story short, what I'm saying is, by the time I got done, there's nobody that's going to be able to get that company from her because her hot button thing was the legacy that she leaves behind about this product and the love and education that she spent her entire life putting into this product. She doesn't want it changed. She doesn't want one little letter changed in all her sales stuff. So, and I said, listen, I would never do that. It would be an honor to have this brand.
Right.
And she's basically said it's mine. Now, I'd like to buy it at some point, but she's got some things she's got to turn around so that it's profitable. I'm not going to buy a struggling business to try and turn it around. I don't have the time. But these are the types of things you learn to do from books like this. This book is a great book. Now I'm starting to remember more of it. The Black Swan started to kick in a little bit, and this is it's about, I was taught I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I speak a lot on these shows, and that's because I'm trying to give out my knowledge and my experience. But normally, and Scott will tell you this, when I'm walking through ASD, I use these more than I use this. You don't hear me talk much when I'm negotiating and working on a deal or asking questions about a product. I usually ask and then let them go on and tell me about their product.
But it's go ahead. I'm sorry. What were we gonna say?
I was going to say, I used to tell my students, you're all alligators. You're all mouth and no ears.
Yep.
But he does a nice job too. It talks about negotiating salaries and those kind of things. Things that I forget because I look at a full time world of reselling, but there's so many part time people that if they had read this book too, it really would help them in all aspects of your life, whether it's self employment and employee relationships. It's because there's a lot of principles that you apply to all your personal relationships. It's because you truly want it to be a win-win, because if you stomp somebody down too bad where they can't win, you damage that relationship, but you also ruin it for the future. And a lot of these things you need ongoing. And so
Amazon seller, I agree 100%. ASD is worth the trip. It's a great place to learn. It has a lot of smaller brands and distributors and things like that, but the real brands and stuff like that or trade shows, I'm at a level where they come to me now. I very rarely have to go look for something. It's usually they come to me, or they're referred to me by one of the brands I work with now. Hey, you got to talk to this guy. You want your product on Amazon. You want to know what's really going on Amazon. Talk to this guy. But ASD is great to learn from. And China now comes to ASD.
I forgot all about that. He spent almost a chapter talking about the most important words you can hear in a negotiating relationship, and it's not yes and it's not no. It's that's right. Once you've got that person you're negotiating with to use the phrase "that's right," they have accepted a lot of your what your side of the argument, and they can that's better than a yes. That's better than a no. And I'm not very good at explaining how he came across it and said that signals that you're at the positive point and the turning of the negotiation towards your favor. But it's really when you're that they accept the fact that you have you understand their emotion, you have labeled and mirrored, you've taken care of their concerns. That's right. Is when you're dealing in it and you hear those terms, it is very important, very positive. And so if you're reading a book, if you're like Mr. Flippin' Ain't Easy, and you hadn't read the book yet, make sure you pay attention to that section.
Boy, you're really calling them out, aren't you?
Give him a break. He's trying to make a living.
He's trying to make a living. What? Oh, he's a good. He's truly an outstanding person. I'm just messing with him.
Back to what you were saying, Scott, about the phrase "that's right." You can only get someone to that phrase if you've listened and you've repeated back to them in a way that made sense to them, for them to understand that you were actually listening. And that was one of the things that I got out of this reading this particular book, and was just how that reiterating it back, maybe even twice, I think is they talked about it.
Look at
is
the
a way
young
to
guy
get
making sense. That's good, Jake. There aren't very many people your age that have your savvy.
It's because he
Thank you,
wasn't
Paul.
brainwashed with all the media growing up.
That's probably true.
There's a lot of truth to that, because the culture he was raised in did not value what they're programming our children to do right now. There's a ton of, and so by the time he had responsibility early, because you're the oldest, right?
Yeah.
As families transitioning out of that, and and the oldest child, he took some responsibility to help siblings who didn't know anything else, and so.
And they don't go to school very long. How far did you go in school, Jake?
So 8th grade is standard, but I was right at that age where I was able to just continue on my own, and I finished my last 4 years. So I finished my last 4 years actually in 2 years studying on my own.
But outside, not in.
Nice.
Correct, because I had just finished the 8th grade when we left.
Yeah. And 8th grade would, but if you would have stayed, there would have been no school after 8th grade. You'd have been in the fields working or whatever trade that your family participated in.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
That's what I thought. Honestly, I didn't think it was 8th grade. I thought it was like 5th or 6th. I didn't think it was 8th.
8th grade. So they just skip high school. So yeah, they go up to, but not including high school.
So they have basic math skills. It's pretty basic skill. It's a pretty basic set of skills that they have when you're done school.
Right.
So a lot of it too is relating back to reselling, is in negotiating and dealing with customers. If you sell the kind of products that get bought over and over, you foster reselling relationships. You can, and the way you treat people. So I saved myself a negative feedback today. So how did I do that? So a lady bought 6 of the big girl panties, and I sent her 1 of one and 5 of another, and she ordered 6 of the same one. And she sent me a message back saying, "Hey, I got 1 of the ones I wanted, and 5 of these other ones I didn't." And I'm like, "Oh damn!" There was a mix-up in the either the wholesaler or Maiden Form, one or the other, and they put the wrong package with these things in it. And so the only reason I knew they were wrong was because I had a customer send one back and say, "Hey, these are briefs, not the whatever the other one was." And so I had mixed them up and gave her 1 of the briefs and then 5 of the ones that are briefs, but they've got the wrong package on them. And it came across my phone, and I read it, and I answered her immediately, "Hey, I'm so sorry about that. I picked up the wrong ones, but you've got the exact thing." I said, "If you flip it over and look, they both got the same sticker on the bottom. Those 5 that are the 5, I think they're 5.0 ones, are actually just the briefs. They're in the wrong package I just told from the wholesaler." And she said, I got a message back immediately. "Thanks so much for responsive fast. I didn't even open the other ones up. Let me check." Oh, and I got another message. "You're exactly right. They're great. Exactly what I need. Thanks so much for your fast response." I mean, that saves,
It's not complicated. We don't perform rocket science here.
It's not hard. I apologize for me and the person messing up and gave her confidence she had the right thing, and she looked at it and customers are thankful for that. So if she needs some more, I mean, I'm one of the few that have got them, but still, relationships. This business is everything you do is relationships, and people take that for granted. Live, we are social beings. No matter how much of a loner you think you are, you still have relationships in your life. It's hard to exist without them. There's a reason why if we're put in solitaire, we go crazy. you know, what's the big movie with Tom Hanks? We all make fun of the soccer ball, but it's truly that's the way we're wired, and and so how do you negotiating and getting along and doing these things are all will make your life better.
Listen, if you needed a willow stick, where would you get it from?
China.
Would you get it from Jake? And would the price really matter when you're doing business with a friend?
Nope.
These relationships that I've built and fostered over the years, because everybody's asked me, well, what would you do again? The first thing I would do is relationships, because these guys have saved my fat from the fire a few times on some big mistakes that I made. They've been able to help me recover from, and it's because I have good relationships. It's easier to do business with somebody I trust and somebody that I know that's going to stand behind their product and their word. Well, it's easier for me to do business with Scott, Jake, or Todd. Well, Tommy, we know Tommy, but he's a little his memory's failing him a little bit. So, but you understand what I'm saying? It's easier to do business when you know somebody. So don't. One thing that people tend to do in negotiating and is they rush into it. They skip the most important part of negotiating. And I forget how much he got into this in the book. It's about learning to build a relationship and we called it ice breaking, with the person you're going to negotiate with. It's easier to negotiate with somebody that you're on term, that you got a little understanding with some terms, first name basis, finding out if they're really a decision maker or if they're a salesperson. Just some back and forth banter to begin with. Did you see the Usher concert? For the Biden fundraiser. I heard there's a little football game after the fact. Yeah, find out where they're standing politically by saying something like that, because they all let you know real quick what side they're on. You start talking about Taylor Swift too bad, and then you're on the wrong side of the fence, man. Ooh, they tell you. So these are things you got to do to get to know somebody before you can go on for. I mean, if you're selling a $5 box of candy, okay, that's one thing. But if you're selling on a regular basis to the same, my business is a lot of repeat. So I got to bring these people got to keep coming back to buy stuff from me. I'm grumpy and all that, and I'm straight up with them. They know that. They expect it. They expect a short answer when they send me an email. They know they're getting a 5-word reply, but they expect it to be what they need for information to be able to make an educated decision on my product. It's not complicated, but sometimes we rush to make a sale. And sometimes it's because we're not in the right business. I've been saying this, maybe this isn't for everybody and stuff like that. If you need to make $1 today, sales is not the easiest place to make $1. You may want to consider something else and do this as a hustle. This is not easy to do full time. You have to be able to support yourself without it's stressing you out to a point that it interferes with your negotiations.
But if you sell products that our people buy over and over a lot, so I can think of an example for Jacob. You've got your Willows. You've got a lady who buys from you every year, same time every year, and buys a big order. And if you hadn't heard from her, I think you were telling me it was the last year before you hadn't heard from her. and you were going to be running low, and so you actually reached out and sent her a message saying, "Hey, I hadn't from me yet. If you're going to order again this year, I just wanted to let you know that I'm running low on short, so you might want to go ahead and." Those kind of relationships, if you've got, instead of disappointing a customer, reach out to her and say, hey, for whatever reason, think they're not growing. I've had a lot of orders. I had whatever. And it's, and that is, we don't, we always think a negotiation is the financial deal, but it's way more, and that's one of the things I took away from this book too. It's way more than just the transactional part of any kind of deal between two parties. It is much more about the relationship, and the hardest part for me is the silence. I'm terrible about silence. I'm terrible, and the skills that I'm trying to work on, especially I'm focused on the first couple months of yard sales, is really the silence, and then allowing the other person, to give me information. I never get that far, and so I challenge each one. This one was fascinating. It's a couple times a year book. This is one that I think can improve all aspects of your daily life.
And it's something you have to practice at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because you read the book and you understand it doesn't mean you're going to be able to go out there and negotiate a guy out of a bank. Yeah, you just, it takes practice. It takes skill. It's something you're going to have to work on. And never stop. Never stop. Everybody says, you want to round up for, Boys and Girls Club? No, I want you to round down and give to me for a change. You guys are laughing, but that's negotiations. They ask for something, I ask for something. A lot of times people will talk to you at that point. Can we make it less? How's your food? It sucked. Does that make it free? My wife will tell you. I had somebody, I said the food sucked. Does that make it free? It's just a joke for me. I play around. The manager found out that I said that. She brought me over a tray of dessert. And my wife was like, don't do that. You have no idea what you're going to encourage him to do. But has anybody else had free desserts? Because they said the meal sucked. Is it free? I mean, if you don't ask, you ain't getting.
And that's a key right there.
How many people went into Home Depot and asked for a discount?
I do all the time.
Jake did.
Every time, except I hate the Home Depot. I like Lowe's.
You may not know this, but I worked at Home Depot for 4 years, and every employee in Home Depot is empowered to give a $50 discount on anything.
Yeah.
Across the board. The cashier can do it. The hardware guy can do it. The plumbing guy can do it. All you got to do is ask.
Yeah. I think the last time I was in there, I was picking up maybe commodes or something not so fun, but the boxes had
fun. Come on.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. So I mean, but picking them up, not so much. They're heavy. But anyways, the way they explain it is it was up at this particular store. It was up to $50, but no more than 15%. Or something like that, but it was two parameters, and so he was able to give me a 15% off up to $50 because the box was damaged. I do that all the time.
Yeah, customers figure it out pretty quick. They used to go. I've seen a customer damage a box and bring it up to me and say, hey, can you give me a discount? This is damaged.
See, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
That's where you lost the integrity that we were talking about earlier.
You got to have.
Right. And,
No.
and I would feel like that type of person would probably really was giving up the real deals later because they, you
Right.
know, they're known to have caused damage. And so, okay, maybe they got by with that time, but the way I see it, when I go in, especially when I go to Lowe's or wherever, I will talk to the department managers and ask them, well, do you have anything you're trying to get rid of? And that's valuable to them, get it out of their inventory. I mean, I've bought the wood grain, wood look tile, the porcelain ceramic, the good stuff for like less than 50 cents a foot. And it's because they wanted it out of there. And one time they even hauled it almost 80 miles just because they wanted to get rid of it. And,
But that's a great negotiating strategy. It might have been John that was talking about this when we were at ASD together, John, where you said, I'll ask somebody, what's your worst selling item? What do you not? I think it was John. What can you not get rid of? What do you not want to deal with? He goes, to get my foot in the door, let me sell that. Let me prove to you that I can sell your worst selling the item that you have the most difficulty with to earn your business on everything else. I think that was John.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. What's your worst selling item? Send me 2 cases. And they're like, what? Or I'll ask them, is it just so horrible you're ready to get rid of it? How much to buy it all? I'll buy an entire lot of it. And I'll throw it away. I mean, if it's real junk, I'll throw it away just to get my foot in the door. But you better be able to sell. I mean, you can't don't go in there and try, because once I sell their worst selling item, they see what I'm willing to do. They start offering me better and better deals and better stuff. And some of my relationships are now
relationships. Yep.
14 years old.
I think
so Two Hit Chicks talks about to not buy it that week or this week. Most places have a 30-day receipt match too, so it's like they'll give you your cash back for a price drop up to 30 days with a receipt one time. Not every retail, but most national retailers do. So not only do you have the item the day you want it, you have it before it goes on sale and is no longer in stock. That's another tip.
The one thing I was thinking about too as I was reading this to you, think about today, and with so much being online and so many people growing up with and interpersonal skills being I believe weaker than they are in this younger generations now. If you can practice these skills, I think you have a distinct advantage in getting negotiating to your advantage. Just because it's a win-win doesn't mean that you don't win a little more. And I think because of if you practice these skills and because I can tell you right now that society seems to be getting more and more hateful. It's because they hide behind keyboards. They don't, and then when they get in front of a person to person, they freeze because that's not what they're used to, and they don't know what to do because they're used to. Not only have they not met someone that has a different opinion, and they need to, just because someone has a different view from you doesn't mean that you're not going to go through life and go every situation you come to and you need something from this person. They're all going to have your same views on everything in life. And so if that's the only thing you've dealt with your life and everything's been handed to you, so I think these skills will get even more valuable as time goes on.
Yeah.
Negotiating the advantage.
I didn't negotiate. I had a 4-hour meeting Thursday night while I was in Vegas for a job that's probably going to pay about $200,000. Guy coming into my company. He struggled to look me in the eye. It wasn't because he was being deceitful or anything like that. he was uncomfortable having a conversation with somebody 2 feet from him.
Face to face, yeah.
He's so used to Zoom and emails and text and chat and this and that that the interpersonal skills were not there. It was awkward for me because Scott's seen me do a lot of business. I do business face to face on a handshake and
Handshake, yeah.
no follow up email. And I'm not talking about for $500. I've done business for $100,000, $150,000 on a handshake. I place an order. I don't send a PO and make an agreement and all that. They go, okay, we'll get it out for you.
But yeah, so Don talks about if you want to learn how to negotiate, try working a customer service helpline. The one thing I tell you is the big example he gives to give the guy his. So he had a lot of skills in hostage negotiating, but he wanted to. He wanted to. In the FBI, he wanted to get in some different level where they're the elite of the hostage negotiators and that kind of stuff were. And he had to go through this lady, and she wouldn't even hardly give him the time of day. She told him her only thing was she told him, "You need to go work at the crisis
Suicide.
center,
The suicide hotline.
where people are." And so he's like, "All right, that's what I'll do." And so he went and did it. And he's like, when as somebody who became a friend, he thought it was going to evaluate. He's like, "Man, I just killed that. I did exactly it." And he comes in and the guy looks him in the face, goes, "That has to be the worst I've ever seen. That had to be a tough conversation." But the guy cared enough for him that not only did he tell him it was the worst example of negotiating on one of their crisis lines, he explained to him why and told him what to do about it, which is, you've got to care enough about people that because can you imagine, now this guy has worked on a hotline and the referrals he gets to help him fill his hotline slots and everything else because Mr. Voss went through there. And what's the reason why he got to where he was? He went back and told the lady, next time the lady, he saw her, I'm still interested in the job. I still want to do this. And he said, I went and worked at the suicide hotline and I met so-and-so and they talked about the guy, the guy who's the boss there. And she immediately gave him the spot over people that were more, qualified, in experience and with education. She said, that's where I got my start. I've told everybody to do that and nobody's ever done it but you. Got his foot in the door because he listened to the person who was telling him what to do, who had control over the situation, and he went and did it. Imagine that. If more people had that kind of...
The hell do we do every Wednesday? These freaking people come in here, we tell them what to do, and they come back the following Wednesday and ask us what they should do. How many of them actually go out and do any of it? They all can get pissed off at me. I don't really care. You know that. But it's the truth. You know it.
Now, so Dawn says the book was required from one of her previous job. Whoever had you do that, somebody has some foresight. And yeah, if you want to do that too, I suggest... I'm better at some of the things. I'm better with empathy. I am a little better at reading people. I'm not good at the pause and that, but go run a fast food restaurant for a few years.
That's just practice, Scott.
And how many wrong orders? Just think about this. I ran when was the last time I ran that one? I left that one in 13. So 2011 and 12, I ran it was a $2.25 million Wendy's. It was a training store, so I had managers and training going through left and right for this district. And you think if I got 99% of the orders right, you think we were doing good? You know how many wrong orders that means? Just think about it. There's my calculator. I used to know the number. I forget what it is now. So if I did 2.25 million times 0.98, How about times 0.02 divided by average check is 5.
That'd be 12.
Hey.
Guessing 12.
About 2,500 orders wrong a year.
That's a lot. That's a big number. Because 25, and here's what people don't understand about something like that. 2,500 people will tell
That's right.
10 of their friends.
A 7 a day, 7 orders a day. Somebody in the management team's got to deal with being wrong, and that's a low estimate. How many of them are wrong in a drive they didn't know about? But
they tell 10 of their friends
Mhm.
about their bad experience. When you have a good experience, on average, you tell less than 2 people.
yeah. But the one thing I can tell you is it really teaches you to diffuse a situation. You know, and that would also help in negotiating too. If something if it gets a little heated or whatever, you know, you learn calmness wins. If you can remain the worst thing, somebody come up to the counter mad as hell. You know what the worst thing I ever did to them was? When you treat them kind, nice, and solve their problem, it's amazing how that big monster and that big rage, that rage monster just immediately. It's amazing. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's way up there at solving problems, and you know, a very quick. You learn very quickly to apologize for the situation. I'm taking no ownership over it. Hey, I'm so sorry this happened. What can I do to make this right for you? What can I do to solve your problem right now? And allow that person. I mean, it's the same stuff I read in the book. Allow them to tell you what they want out of it. If it's within my power, I took care of it. And
Because
since
a lot of times it's not financial.
I was the
Right.
training general manager at all these stores or district manager, whatever I was at the time, I had the ability to solve every one of these problems. And so how do you, and it was almost never, it was never about, a lot of times I just wanted to be heard.
Right.
A lot of
And-
times they just want you to know that something went wrong in your store, that you need to take a look at it and make sure it gets corrected so that when we come back,
Right.
we can expect a different product, especially in food. I hate when they come out, oh, I'll buy your meal. Listen, I didn't come here looking for a handout. I came here for a good meal. I didn't get a good meal. Correct
But
the
you're-
problem. Don't offer me a free meal. That's not what I'm here for.
But people don't look at it in the terms, you are now negotiating with this customer to save the relationship for the business. You know, that we don't look at it. We always look at it in monetary terms, and we can't see directly what these terms are. It's not like buying a car where you can see the money, yes or no. You know, you are negotiating with that customer to keep their business moving forward. And I don't, you know, when we talk about negotiating, I don't think we really value that. Almost every transaction you deal with is some sort of negotiation. So fascinating book. So the next one is Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've heard about that one for years, and should have my terrible self should have read it by now. So that's the next one. Beardypicker.com. There's book lists. I haven't updated yet, but the first 6 are there. So now I guess that'll be 2 down. So there's still 4 books there. You know, if you want to do these books for free, go get a library card. Most states participate with Libby, and get on ahead and get on the wait list to listen to Libby. It gives you 3 weeks, Jacob, to listen to the book. It's audio books.
Yep. 21 days. Yep.
On that. So
Rich Dad Poor Dad is not on any Libby program.
No, it's
On
not.
the audio version.
it is not okay.
The audio version is not, but
It's
you
all
can.
over, all over YouTube.
Yeah. There's many different places you can find it. You can. Libby will let you read it, but not listen to it.
Yeah, Robert
For whatever reason.
Kiyosaki has a YouTube show.
Yep.
And Rich Dad Poor Dad Network. I read his book about 10 years ago in relation to silver and gold.
Okay.
And
Yep. He's
he
got several
makes a
books.
lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're gonna.
He's out there on some of his topics,
Oh, sure.
but
Yep.
aren't we all?
Yeah.
But all
He
these,
actually he
I don't.
co-wrote.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say all the books that are being suggested and shows. I don't expect it 100% to match up with, and some of them you might just go, "Oh my god, I can't do that." But I think you're better off for hearing. It's like anything else. For hearing a different point of view, hearing a different. My challenge to myself is 3 books a month. So I'm on book number 2 for this month, but I'm doing 12 once a month for here. But what's the one thing? Look at what your weakness is. I've determined that I'm my own weakness, so I'm trying to work on me.
All right, here everybody's. I'm giving everybody's a homework assignment with this next book.
Oh Lord.
Go to Google, type in cash flow game online.
Oh, I love that game. I bought that game. The board version of it.
It's also a bolo for people that like to sell on eBay. I think I got $70 for my last one.
I bought one from him.
Yeah, if you see that one, it's easy. There's 2 or 3 different versions of the game that you find.
There's a kids version too. Yeah, I've got both of them.
If you have not played it, when you read the book, play the online version. It's free. You don't. I think you have to sign up for. Is it an app?
There's also an app.
Yep. I don't know. I read the book. I played the game. The first time I got my ass kicked. The second time I crushed it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand what the rules. When you look at the rules, it doesn't make sense.
Right. But I think that's
once you start to read the rules and understand what the game is trying to show you, it's very beatable, and it's very applicable to anybody's life.
Yes. Yep.
And trust me, if you play the game, you'll come back and go, "Oh, that was the greatest thing I did after reading the book," because the book kind of made sense, but the game puts rubber to the road.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Robert Kiyosaki fan. Kiyosaki fan. I can't stand his blue glasses. I do listen to him.
Yeah,
just because I don't agree with him or that I dislike him, doesn't mean I don't listen to what he puts out there, because he's not a dummy. He's very smart. It's
but
like
just take away the good points that you can apply to your life.
It's the same thing with Dave Ramsey. I listen to Dave Ramsey. I think he's an idiot when it comes to debt sometimes, but I do listen to him, and I do learn from him. And sometimes I learn what I don't want to do.
Sure. Yep.
Like I don't want to leverage real estate like Robert and Grant and a lot of other people in real estate. And Jake, if you're heavily leveraged, I'm not. I'm at the wrong age to be leveraged.
No. I'm like far not leveraged. I mean, obviously I have mortgages, but I am not leveraged at all. I'm just your standard as I can afford it, and I use no debt for any of the capital expenditures. My mortgages are obviously debt, but and I believe that there's a place for debt.
The thrifty slumlord.
Yeah.
Well, Todd, I got
to change my name now.
Yeah,
that's something I like to do, Todd. I know you're into silver and gold. I don't know where my stack of money is.
Silver and gold is just savings. It's not going to get you rich, like Kiyosaki tries to say sometimes, but it's going to hold your wealth.
The other one of the things that I like to do is I like to go to the bank and get $3,000 in singles, and I go through them and find all the star notes and pull all the star notes out.
You're one of those.
I also go through my coins. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, Todd, I used to have a cash for gold business previously. That was a fun time.
Cash? Was it cash for gold or was it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, like those retail locations where we would buy from the gold. What is that?
I'll trade you whoopie pies for gold.
Ah, yes. I love me some whoopie pies and shoe fly pie. Have you had shoe fly pie?
No, Payne. He's talking about star certificates. They're reprints, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. The bill has been damaged, but they reuse the serial number.
If you look it up, silver certificates are good too, but they're hard to find. Todd, do you search coin or no?
Search what?
Coin.
Not my pocket change.
Oh no, I buy $5,000 worth of halves too.
Yeah,
because I'm in a casino
so
town.
many YouTube videos about searching coin rolls. I'm not into that. I can make more selling crap on eBay than I can search coin rolls, but those guys have big YouTube channels. I don't blame them.
I don't do it. I do it on a personal level. I really do. I can't sell on eBay. People don't understand that. Scott has a good understanding of that because he's hung around with me and he understands. There's times where, like tonight, I can jump on here and I got no problems. I got a lot of freedom tonight. This morning, my phone didn't stop. Every time I turn around, the phone was ringing.
John, for me, it's like I bought like 2 great old big tubs of Lego, mismatched crap, and that's going to make me more money than searching a box of coins. It really is. So
yeah, but searching coins, I can search coins for an hour here and then just stick it and leave it for 6 weeks before I look at it again. That's the difference for me. I don't have time to ship every day off of eBay, or I'd be selling Legos. Now the
that's
only
the
thing
way
I
I
can
feel
tell you
about the Legos.
is make sure they're all Legos.
Yeah.
When you sell them, make sure they're all Legos.
Oh yeah. But yeah, there's faster ways to make more money than searching coins out of your pocket change, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah.
So, Ping, they do destroy the bill, but they reproduce it again with the same serial number.
Because there's only so many numbers in a series of 9 digits. It's a phenomenal number of
Hellfire
bills
Sadie.
that can be produced.
Everyone have a wonderful night. Thanks for reading the book. I hope it positively affects your life. We'll go to the next one. And if you want to, I put the link in there each time. If you want, you can join us on the panel. You don't have to turn your camera on if you want. If we miss something or something really affects you deeply and you want to talk about it, hit the link. Come say hello. You're welcome anytime. We promise to be nice to you for at least 10 minutes. Even John. Roll Tide.
Frick you gonna do? Mute me?